What's up, Stranger Things fans? It's John of Video Games in the World. Stranger Things is one of Netflix's best shows next to titles such as House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, 13 Reasons Why, Castlevania, Cobra Kai, Midnight Mass, Wednesday, and so on. It is one of the best things I have seen on television as it has an amazing story, characters, and a 1980s setting. And that show pays tribute to all these flicks from the 80s like Nightmare on Elm Street, Ghostbusters, Conan the Barbarian, and so on. The story focuses on the themes of facing fear with imagination, immersing in darkness, friendship, love, trauma, loss, and the coming of age. 3 years ago, I made a video essay of Stranger Things 4 tackling the satanic panic of the 1980s, and I have spoken about that moral panic a few times. If you want to watch the essay, link in the description. This video is going to put a target on my back because of what I am about to say. They're just going to have to deal with it. Now, the reason I am talking about Stranger Things today is due to how people reacted to the coming out of one of the main characters, Will Byers. Will Byers is played by Noah Schnapp, and Will, much like the actor that plays him, is gay. In season 5 of Stranger Things, Will finally comes out to his friends with the encouragement of fellow LGBTQ member, Robin Buckley. As we all know, Stranger Things takes place in the 1980s, and it was in a time where people were extremely hostile towards the LGBTQ community because of the AIDS pandemic, ultra-conservative Christians preaching hate against them, and the lack of education of what it means to be a member of the LGBTQ. And also, as I said many times on this channel, my past attitude with the LGBTQ was not a very pleasant one due to me being a jackass and lack of education until a lesbian called me out and made me realize how wrong I was and I should stop making excuses and lies to avoid consequence and save myself. And I thank God she did that every day. If I could go back in time and educate my past self on this, I would, but I can't. Every day, I wish I never had any homophobia in the past and treated every LGBTQ person with love, friendship, kindness, and respect. But a good friend of mine who is trans told me when I told her my past that it's never too late to change and do better. Past mistakes are something that you learn from, so instead of self-harming and self-loathing, learn and move forward by being a better person than your past self. And with all the anti-LGBTQ sentiment growing because of the pathetic, bigoted clowns running things, I feel that as a straight man, it is my duty to stand with the LGBTQ people, especially for those in my family and friends. Anyways, many anticipated that one of the characters was going to come out of the closet since the first episode of the series, and many believed that Will was going to be gay, and seasons 4 and 5 has proven them right. Now, if you ask me if I support this, my answer is, of course. Yes, I do. Now, I know that a bunch of ultra-conservative Christians are going to come at me and anyone that supports this, but screw them anyway. I'm a non-denominational and the LGBTQ are God's children too. This is my defense of Will Byers. If it bothers you so much that Will is gay like Robin is a lesbian, then to watch the show. So what's the problem? It shouldn't affect anyone, unless they're homophobic or in the closet. Some Christians, for saying this, will either ask me, why do you attack Christianity and why are you defending a gay character? My answer to that question is, I am not attacking the Christian faith. I am simply calling out a bunch of assholes who use the Bible to justify their prejudice and their bigotry. And just so you anti-gay Christians know, he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. John chapter 8, verse 7. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. Romans 13, 8-10. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping the command, love thy neighbor as thyself. Galatians 5:14. So, what did these people exactly say about Will Byers? Isn't that obvious? The usual nonsense that is coming out is Stranger Things pushing a woke agenda and a gay agenda, and asking what does gay have to do with defeating Vecna. Defeating Vecna is not about color, gender, and sexual orientation. It's about humanity. It's about saving the world and everyone in it, because that creature is a threat to all life. These anti-woke grifters don't know when to stop with the nonsense. Since the whole Gamergate situation, they have been at it. At first, the anti-woke, which I formerly called the anti-SJW, were thought to be people fighting against the screeching woke scolds, who are also known as the social justice warriors, who wanted to instill political correctness and leftist politics into everything. Movies, TV shows, video games, comic books, etc. The screeching of these woke scolds over the years has seemed to die down, but now it's the anti-woke who are a lot worse than the ones they swore to destroy. As said in The Dark Knight, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. To those anti-woke grifters, do you really think that because there are LGBTQ characters in Stranger Things, the show doesn't feel 1980s and more like 2025? Jesus Christ. Ay, Dios mío. There have been LGBTQ in the 1980s as well. It's not a current day thing. There have been LGBTQ people since the dawn of mankind. As someone who self-educates, the LGBTQ in the 1980s were too afraid to come out of the closet because there was so much homophobic sentiment due to the AIDS pandemic, Christian groups preaching bigotry and prejudice, the social taboos, and the lack of education of what it means and does not mean to be LGBTQ. People were indoctrinated into thinking that homosexuality, bisexuality, and transgenderism were unnatural, abnormal, and a phase that can be outgrown, and you can stop being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. Can you really stop being gay, transgender, lesbian, and bisexual? I highly doubt that. What makes this even worse was that various LGBTQ youths were disowned by their parents after coming out or forced to go into conversion therapy camps, where they were subjected to severe emotional, physical, and psychological pain, which resulted in tragic consequences. Because of all that bigotry and prejudice, so many of these poor youths who were LGBTQ ended up taking their own lives. But those who still live on fight for a better tomorrow in the memory of those that died, either to suicide or were victims of hate crime, like Brandon Tina, Matthew Shepard, and Rebecca White. Just because Will is gay doesn't make the show bad. Like I said, if it bothers you that Will is gay and Robin is a lesbian, then to watch the show. And getting all pissed off about Will being gay and Robin being a lesbian says a lot about these grifters. And you know what they say about homophobes? They're either uneducated idiots who need to be educated, or they hide in the closet, or both. In my case, when I was a homophobe, I was the uneducated idiot who needed to be taught a lesson. And thank God I was taught that lesson. LGBTQ characters are not included to push an agenda. They're there because they existed, do exist, and shall exist for the foreseeable future. But of course, to these anti-woke grifters, this is how it is in the field of entertainment. Skin colors, white and political. Genders, male and political. Religions, Christian and political. Sexual orientations, straight and political. That's how it is to these anti-woke grifters, and the sad thing about it is they're so indoctrinated in their own anti-woke beliefs that it's hard to make them understand. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Woke panic is the new satanic panic. Will Byers is gay. Robin Buckley is a lesbian. Get over it. If you can't accept that, then go ahead and drown in your own goddamn echo chamber of prejudice and bigotry for all I fucking care. If you get pissed off about LGBTQ characters, not just in Stranger Things, but also in the movies and shows you watch and video games that you play, then you're snitching on yourself as a bigot. Writers and artists are not there to please you or your bigotries. They entertain people, and every piece of art and media has a core message, because art is subjective. And that's all I'm going to say. This is going to put a target on my back due to how many homophobes who use the Bible to justify their hate. But in the end, I said what I said. They can cry and screech all they want. Hell, they'll be doing both. One more thing I say to people. I don't care if you're white, black, Latino, Asian, Middle Eastern, male, female, religious, non-religious, straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer. You're all human beings in my eyes. God makes no mistakes, and you're beautiful. All beautiful. As humans, we have our good and bad. We have issues we must learn how to conquer before they rule us. And urges as well that we must conquer. Now, if you're bigoted towards people because of their color, because of the color of their skin, their gender, their religion, and their sexual orientation, then you're a loser. Anyone who is racist, sexist, homophobic, and transphobic is a loser. This is John of Video Games and the World, signing off. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. Or should I say, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Bye-bye.